Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Government House. We are gathered today to witness a very significant ceremony which involves the administering of the oaths of office to the new Prime Minister after the consequent upon the general elections of Friday, 5th June 2020. I'm very pleased to recognize and welcome His Lordship, Justice Trevor Ward, Queen's Counsel, resident judge, who will administer the oaths of office, the oath of allegiance and the oath of secrecy. They would go in the order in terms of the oath of allegiance first, then the oath of office, and then the oath of secrecy. And so, in this short but very formal and significant ceremony, I now have the pleasure to invite His Lordship, Justice Trevor Ward, Queen's Counsel, to come forward and to administer the oaths to Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, the Prime Minister. I also recognize the Honorable Sean Richards, who is also present. And so, ladies and gentlemen, and the Cabinet Secretary, of course. So, ladies and gentlemen, I now invite His Lordship to come forward and Dr. Harris to come and to take the oaths. Yes, you go ahead.
I'll first administer the oath of allegiance. I, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Sylvester Harris, do swear.
I, Dr. Timothy Sylvester Harris, do swear.
That I will faithfully bear true allegiance to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II.
That I will faithfully bear true allegiance to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II.
Her heirs and successors.
Her heirs and successors.
According to law.
According to law.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I now administer the oath of office. I, Dr. Timothy Sylvester Harris.
I, Dr. Timothy Sylvester Harris.
Do swear that I will honor, uphold, and preserve.
Do swear that I shall honor, preserve, and uphold
the Constitution of St. Christopher and Nevis.
The Constitution of St. Christopher and Nevis.
And the law.
And the law.
That I will conscientiously.
That I will conscientiously.
Impartially.
Impartially.
And to the best of my ability.
And to the best of my ability.
Discharge my duties as Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis.
Discharge my duties as Prime Minister of St. Christopher and Nevis.
And do right to all manner of people.
And do right to all manner of people.
Without fear or favor.
Without fear or favor.
Affection or ill will.
Affection or ill will.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Administer the oath of secrecy. I, Dr. Timothy Sylvester Harris.
I, Dr. Timothy Sylvester Harris.
Do swear.
Do swear.
That I will not on any account.
That I will not on any account.
At any time whatsoever.
At any time whatsoever.
Disclose any counsel.
Disclose any counsel.
Advice.
Advice.
Opinion or vote.
Opinion or vote.
Given by any minister of the cabinet.
Given by any minister of the cabinet.
And that I will not.
And that I will not.
Except with the authority of the cabinet.
Except with the authority of the cabinet.
And to such extent as may be required.
And to such extent as may be required.
For the proper conduct of the government of St. Christopher and Nevis.
For the proper conduct of the government of St. Christopher and Nevis.
Directly or indirectly.
Directly or indirectly.
Reveal the business or proceedings.
Reveal the business or proceedings.
Of the cabinet.
Of the cabinet.
Or any matter coming to my knowledge.
Or any matter coming to my knowledge.
As a member of the cabinet.
As a member of the cabinet.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes. Just a minute.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Maybe you could sign these. Seven. Yeah. So, see? Thank you. Move with this. May I be the first to congratulate Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris on his appointment as Prime Minister and to invite him to deliver some remarks.
Thank you.
They're giving a podium for you. May I also thank Your Lordship for administering the oaths.
Your Excellency, our esteemed Governor General, Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, I want, of course, to thank you, Your Excellency, for facilitating my taking of the oaths this morning, and to thank you for the support you have given during my first tenure in the office of the Prime Minister. And I look forward to your continuing wise counsel and support. I want to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Sean Richards, leader of the People's Action Movement, my friend and colleague. I want to recognize Your Lordship, Justice Trevor Ward QC, and thank you for assisting with this important historic ceremony. And I acknowledge the presence of the Cabinet Secretary and, of course, His Excellency Tom Lee, the distinguished representative of the Republic of China, Taiwan, and St. Kitts. Today is an historic day for me. The son of a housewife, Margaret Harris, born in St. Kitts, and a sugar worker, Godfrey Nisbet, born on the island of Nevis. It is an honor for me to have the opportunity of being sworn in for the second time as the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is a signal, honor, and moment that I never envisaged, nor had I, growing up, had within my plans. Growing up in the petite village of Tabernacle, where there were sea and mountains and hills and sugarlands around me, I simply wanted to be a teacher because I had come into contact with so many teachers that impacted me positively, and I recall many of them fondly. Then later on, perhaps at around grade 5, I suddenly wanted to become a lawyer. History is that both of these careers eluded me, except for a brief tenure as a part-time lecturer and tutor in accounting at the St. Augustine campus of the University of the West Indies in the early 90s, where as part of the university's investment in me to pursue a PhD in accounting across 4 universities in Montreal, Canada, I was obliged to come back and to deliver courses in management accounting and financial accounting as part of the preparation for my joining the staff as part of the tenure track appointees. In some ways, I never really reflected upon a political journey nor career, although I confess growing up, politics was always around me. My father received the Labour spokesman every week. He will call each of his children to read certain sections of the paper. We never understood why, because our father was an able reader, an intelligent man, but he gave us that practice. I recall that he too served not just as the buzzard loader then on the cane fields, but also he was the union shop steward. And from time to time, he will call me to attend meetings and to record notes, because he would say the workers had grievances. I never know what was a grievance, but I heard the sugar workers tell their tales about wanting gloves, of wanting proper machetes, of wanting equipment and protective gear to help them doing their work. I was just told to take down whatever the people said, and those would go to conference. So in a manner of speaking, perhaps unwittingly and unknowingly, my consciousness was availing itself to the political dictates of the time and the reality of ordinary people living around me, their hopes and their aspiration. When my political journey came, it came almost at an inappropriate time, because in 1993 I had already committed to the University of the West Indies at St. Augustine campus that I would take on the career path of becoming, through hard work, through preparation, eventually providing leadership in accounting in the Department of Management. I was invited to come home from Canada to take part in the parliamentary and elective politics way back in '93. The rest is history, but I've come to believe that in some way this must have been part of what the good Lord had ordained for me to become involved. And throughout the years, I have come to comfort myself in difficult times that the Lord is with me. Today, the successful outcome of our own vibrant democracy and political processes has enabled the swearing-in today. And for this, I say, to God I give all glory. And I want to thank the large group of prayer warriors on the island of St. Christopher and on Nevis and overseas who prayed for me throughout this campaign. And there were several pastors, reverends, by whatever name we would call them, who called me and volunteered to intercede. So as I take on this awesome responsibility of leading the country again, I want to record my appreciation for those prayerful moments. I've always said that Team Unity was a fresh idea, an idea whose time had come with a new way of doing things. In 2013, for the first time in our federation's history, 3 party leaders chose to put the nation's people, their hopes and aspirations for a better future ahead of the partisan politics. We outlined a new philosophy and we marked out new rules of engagement. We were driven by just one objective: to make the life of the people, the life of their families, safer and more prosperous. Indeed, that was reflected in our first manifesto, Prosperity for All, with the sub-theme, A Fair Share. Our outstanding success at the polls held on the 5th of June is a vindication of our excellent work on behalf of the people, and that our performance really lived up, and indeed, some would say, surpassed the promise that we had made. Last Friday, we, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, made history again. We made history as the first coalition government in the Federation to be returned at an election, after an election with an increased majority. The political pundits and those who have better knowledge of these say that it is a rare development that a second-term administration is returned with an increased majority. We made history by winning the largest share of the vote this time around, securing a national swing to Team Unity of around 6%. We made history in my own constituency, number 7, with a swing of 10%, making it the strongest result of my 27 years representing the good people of Bellevue to Atlas. I want to personally thank from the bottom of my heart again the 1,870 voters who voted for me, and I commend the 607 who voted for an alternative for their participation in the democratic process. At the national level, for the national level, 1,267 votes, I'm getting this wrong, 1,263 votes separated me from my competitor in Constituency 7. This then was a big win for the people of Constituency 7, who I love and will always be indebted to. At the national level, I believe that the result of the general election was a repudiation of the old ways of doing politics, of grievance by some when they don't get their own way. It was a repudiation of the government by unsustainable debt and the gimmicks and tricks of the old order of politics. It was a repudiation of the bitterness and selfish agenda of those who sought to dictate to the government, not recognizing that ultimately it is to the broader electorate to which an elected government must respond. Today, however, is not so much about history, and indeed throughout the campaign, I and my colleagues reminded the electorate that the campaign must be about the future, about your future and the future of our beloved Federation. It is now about delivering on the promise of the stronger and safer future. At this election, many of you would have voted for Team Unity for the first time. But whether you are a first-time voter or a seasoned voter, I say thank you for lending me and lending all my colleagues on Team Unity your vote. We are all honored and humbled by the faith and confidence which you have reposed in us. Indeed, for my part, I am particularly humbled by the support of my own constituents who have seen it fit to return me, election after elections, 7 times in a row. And I promise that I will not let you down. I promise the administration which I will lead will not let down the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Today, the work of building more homes, bigger and larger, of creating new jobs and new opportunities for our young people, and continuing to keep our people and country safe. Today, that work begins in earnest. We shall create the modern history of St. Kitts and Nevis by making it the example of the best managed small island state. That is my pledge, and that is my commitment. Finally, a word of thank you, not just to God, but to so many people too numerous to mention. And nonetheless, I take the risk and gamble to name just a few. And those who are not named directly or otherwise, please forgive me for saving some time by not enumerating everyone. I particularly want to thank our outgoing Team Unity cabinet, which has worked hard over the last 5+ years to deliver for every Kittitian and Nevisan. A strong platform has been provided for the incoming cabinet to continue the build-out of the Garden of Eden for St. Kitts and Nevis. The Garden of Eden is a powerful metaphor, and it weighed heavily on me as I read Marcus Garvey's first speech way back in 1937, I think it was, at the MIS, when he spoke of the beauty of St. Kitts and Nevis and what was needed for the people to advance it. And he used the phrase of the Garden of Eden. I think it captured the spirit of prosperity. It captured the spirit of a country recognizing that all we have is us, and to use ourselves first and foremost to advance our beautiful country. The Garden of Eden speaks to a place where all our needs are satisfied. Perhaps in a way, because Marcus Garvey came by seas, he was inviting us to take advantage of what is now dubbed as the blue economy, that our fisher folks should be farming more fish and producing them and making them available not only in their fresh state, but in their process or the stages of production. Perhaps Marcus Garvey, way back then in 1937, was making reference to our fond way of saying St. Kitts and Nevis is the most fertile land, and advising us to that injunction and phraseology to make better use of our land in the advancement of food security. Perhaps Marcus Garvey was calling out to the young people who were gathered there for the first time to say, a genius lies in you. For one of the things he did say was that in talking to the beauty of St. Kitts and Nevis, he was not just referencing the physicality of the country, but he was also speaking to the innate beauty and wisdom of our people. I want to invite our young people to read that speech by Marcus Garvey and to come out of it with a rededication and commitment to do all that they can in their own way to create this beautiful Garden of Eden. And I was inspired during our virtual campaign at the genius of our young people who brought our campaign to thousands of viewers across social platforms, brought music, brought clapping and shouts in a virtual environment, and there were no loss of energy to those who heard it, who would have heard it. That inspiration led us in our manifesto to speak of the creation of a new ministry devoted to entertainment, to talent development, and entrepreneurship, because we believe across those spheres of socioeconomic engagement, the young people can let their genius shine through and help us in developing the stronger and safer St. Kitts and Nevis. Allow me to thank the Honorable Sean Richards, who in some ways has become like a soul brother and a friend. And though I only see him irregularly in the social space, he has been a reliable friend and whom I could rely for objective advice. I would say about him that he says it as he sees it. And even though at times he gives his views and we have disagreement, he understands, as every deputy should, that there's a need for the leader to have space, or else leadership makes no difference. And so he has given me the space to make judgments sometimes difficult, and he has never chastised me publicly about any error in those judgments because he had given silent consent to them. So I want to really thank him. We have had an excellent working relationship, really. And, you know, I will always treasure the ability to relate and to have even difficult conversations about him throughout the campaign. He had been there. And more and more I was able to rely upon him. Sean, you deal with this matter. Sean, you lead the team. And he really stood up to the challenge and helped us to bring the victory. I mean, this has been one of the pleasurable moments. Indeed, you know, he has a great future, and I am obliged to assist him in every way. I want for the record to reiterate what I said in the beginning, that I only intend to serve 2 terms in the office of the Prime Minister. But I shall always be indebted for the excellent support which the Honorable Sean Richards has provided me over the past 5 years and will provide me as we move forward. And that debt of gratitude, I will repay him as often as is necessary by giving him the best advice and support that I can, because he has earned my trust, my confidence, and he has allowed this government the stability that is required for it to move forward. I want equally to recognize the work of the Honorable Mark Brantley, the leader of the Concerns movement, certainly without these two, who are the part of the complex coalition structure which we operate. And I marveled during the campaign that the Honorable Lindsey Grant spoke about the complexity of our government, unique in the context of our federation, and how we have been able, despite the odds, to have worked together to gel and to work together to deliver. The fact that we have had such a superlative performance is an indication that we united our action across the political agencies to bring good to the people, and this is what we had committed to do. So I again thank the Honorable Mark Grantley for his contribution, and to thank their parties for the support they have provided in this unique period of our political history. Again, it is part of the new history we are creating, where we are going yonder to do good and bright things for the people. Let me, in closing, also say thank you to the outgoing ministers, Ian Patches-Liebert and Vance Aimdrie. Patches has been the busiest Minister of Public Infrastructure in a very long time. You have seen his work all through St. Kitts and Nevis, in our roads, our bus line, our ferry terminal, etc., as he did such a fantastic job in building out the infrastructure and utilities of our country, the transformational second cruise pier, the work that is happening at Old Road. All these things, when the history is being written, will be well recorded. Vance Aimdrie served as a former premier and in fact was the leader of the Concerned Citizens Movement when in November 2013 we agreed publicly at Greenlands that we shall come together and that Dr. Timothy Harris shall lead this movement. He was the one who was the leader of the party at the time, and I want to thank him. He was not at the launch in Greenlands, but he had worked very hard with us before he had traveled to London. And so his commitment to the unity has long been well established. I am looking forward to their continuing service in public life, but want to thank both of them as they exit the realms of ministerial portfolios, that God's grace and peace of mind. Let me say a special thank you to Captain Kevin Ninky Williams, a young man who in some ways represents the best of us. He was confirmed as our candidate less than 3 weeks before the election, and he secured a 15% swing to Team Unity, proving that there were plenty of people willing to try something different in constituency number 6, the heartland of Labour. If such a dramatic shift can come in 3 weeks by a new candidate, the future for Team Unity looks bright. What I would say of him is that from my interaction with him, I know he cares deeply about the people of St. Christopher 6, and I hope that one day he will make it to Parliament as their elected representative. To the other new members of Parliament, Mr. John L. Powell, Mrs. Akila Byron Nisbet, Eric Williams, and Alexis Jeffers, I give you my heartiest congratulations and best wishes as you enter the Federal Assembly. You have all earned the trust of your communities, and I know you will work hard over the next 5 years to deliver on our promise. The election campaign would not have been possible without many, many hours of hard work before, during, and perhaps even after, by persons like Ambassador Sidney Osborne, Wallace Wilkin, our legal team, our Senators Wendy Phipps and Vincent Byron, and the producers of our virtual campaign, Open Interactive, the lawyers, of course, Lickybud Carlton Dupont, and Sir Richard Keynes are some of the people really who helped inspired me when moments were difficult. Sir Richard Keynes has been ill for a while, and up to, I think it was yesterday, he called to see how I was doing and to let me know that he had my back. He was my strong supporter and friend, and I confess he had always been. I remember with gratitude that when we were still in the early elements of learning to work together across the political divide, someone advised that Sir Richard Keynes, as I like to call him, was a good person to talk to, that he was very close to Sir Kennedy Simmons, Dr. Kennedy Simmons, and Sir Kennedy at the time was residing in Anguilla. They advised, if you reach Richard, you will reach Sir Kennedy. And I went to talk to him on Princess Street, and he was full of enthusiasm and energy. He said, yes, you have my support. I think you is the person most fit to lead this team unity. And I've been saying it. I've been saying it publicly. But I think you should talk to Sir Kennedy. He would be a good man. And he said, do you want to? I said, yes. He called, he dialed. He said, next week, Sir Kennedy will see you. And the rest of that is history. Since that time, Sir Richard has become someone on whom I could rely. He has a fount of knowledge, having served in government, and importantly, is a self-made man. And so there's a lot we could learn from his discipline and his success. So, Sir Richard, if you hear me now relaying our tales, it's only my way of saying to you that I will be eternally indebted to you for your strong support and for your contribution to the Team Unity family. Let me end by thanking every volunteer, and there were perhaps thousands of them, and every member of the three-party Team Unity family, the People's Labour Party, the People's Action Movement, and the Concerned Citizens Movement for their support. Whether talking to their family members and friends, or putting up posters, or doing street walks, or house to house, or joining our virtual rallies and commenting online, we could not have had such a remarkable success without you. And for those of you who quietly stood home in your houses, sent a message, stick on this point. And when it appears the landscape was getting overcrowded with noise, you say, focus on the agenda. Don't even respond to that one. Don't even say a word, dignify with a comment. The country did not want that. Some people miscued. The elections always will be bigger than the individual beefs and the individual grievances. The election must always be about the best future we could offer. Times ahead are certainly going to be challenging in the context of COVID-19. And so we as a cabinet must get to work real soon, building on the platform. The commitment I make to the country at this time is at some point during the course of the week, we shall be in a position to announce the makeup of the cabinet that I will believe would be one that would help advance the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to the stronger and safer future. Our deputy has been discussing with me ideas regarding the customary public holiday. So at some point in time, we will crystallize that and make that known, and we are hoping that His Excellency, our Governor General, will be gracious enough to find favor with our requests. So we have a little time to consult on that, and we will get back to the public who've been asking if Monday is a holiday. The answer is no, because we have not yet decided. But by Monday, we certainly will let you know which day. Again, to God give I glory. We give all glory. And from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you to all the well-wishers, not just of Dr. Timothy Harris, but of the Team Unity family, all well-wishers of St. Kitts and Nevis, because I am an instrument to help advance St. Kitts and Nevis. So all who are out there rooting for a better St. Kitts and Nevis, I say God bless you, and may God bless all of us. Thank you again, Your Excellency. Thank you, Your Lordship, for facilitating, and may God's grace and mercy be with both of you. Thank you again.
Prime Minister, may I just present you with the instrument following up the swearing in. This is the instrument of your appointment as Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Right. Good.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I omitted to mention my daughter because family should not feature well, but I want to acknowledge my daughter Cheyenne Harris. She's a student at the CFBC, and to thank her for being here, and to regret that my second daughter, who is a doctor interning in Jamaica, is not able to make it with us on account of the COVID-19. So thanks again.
Welcome. Thank you.